Hey everyone, how are you? It's Brian Barron, Director of Skincare Research at Paula's Choice Skincare, coming at you this Wednesday, August 11th for the live chat. And our topic is going to be everything AHA, alpha hydroxy acids. You and me, next hour, that's what we're going to be flapping our lips about, or flapping our gums about, as they say. So I'm going to be talking about the different types of alpha hydroxy acids because unlike beta hydroxy acid, which is salicylic acid, there are several types of AHAs, and to one degree or another, they all have their unique traits. We use them separately, we use them together. There's a couple of products with both AHA and BHA, so I will also be touching on the differences between those and whether or not you need both and who could benefit from both. And along with everything else, I'm going to be discussing how to use an AHA exfoliant in your current skincare routine. So as I go through my dialogue here, or monologue, I should say, one of the things that I don't like about these live chats is that I don't get to see or hear you guys. I see your questions coming in. Please add those. But I someday I want to do these types of things in person, with a group of you. I just think that would be fantastic. There's always a different energy, a different dynamic. It's been a crazy busy week so far, and we're smack in the middle of it. I was off last week on vacation, and definitely came back thinking this is why I don't like taking a week off of work, because stuff accumulates. But at the same time, vacation, it's necessary. It's good to unplug. It's good to recharge. It's good to connect with people that you don't normally see or explore new places you've never been. So I'm a big advocate of taking that time off. I just try not to let the return to work stress me out too much. And very thankful that Paula's Choice as a company, in particular our CEO, they are very encouraging of making sure that we do take that time to relax, refresh, recharge, and just come back to work, ready to handle the next set of challenges. Which, gosh, that sounds negative, doesn't it? I don't mean it. I don't mean it that way. But work can be work, and it takes a village to bring you some of the best skincare products in the world and some of the best, most reliable research-supported information in the world so that you have the facts, the knowledge to take the best possible care of your skin. That's what we're all about here at Paula's Choice. Let's, here's my little, there we go. This up here. Okay, we're going to talk about, so AHAs, as I mentioned, are alpha hydroxy acids. And they are named alpha because of the position of the carbon molecule relative to the alpha portion of the molecule. And I could bore you more with the chemistry behind that, but it really doesn't matter too much just in terms of consumer perception. What you need to know is that alpha hydroxy acids, when properly formulated, are capable of exfoliating the skin. Now, exfoliation, the natural turnover of dead cells, is something that happens when we're younger, really for most of us without us even thinking about it. We just go about our day having really nice, smooth, healthy looking, even toned skin, even textured skin. But for many reasons, environmental damage being a big one, what a shock. Just intrinsic aging, the process of getting older, is another factor. Certain skin disorders, including acne and eczema, and others, and sometimes just genetics, can cause that natural cycle of skin cell death and shedding. Because the cells that we see on the surface here, they are dead. They are fully matured keratinocytes, which at that point become corneocytes. That kind of makes sense because the uppermost layer of our skin is known as the stratum corneum, and that's about 10 to 30 micrometers thick, which isn't too thick. But then you have other layers of the epidermis under there, and those are the layers of skin that a well-formulated alpha hydroxy acid is going to act on. So essentially, Alpha hydroxy acids, due to their exfoliating action, or as it's termed in the literature, I'll read this quote, I thought it was just kind of interesting, diminish corneocyte cohesion immediately above the granular layer by detaching and desquamating the stratum corneum. So that is a very sciencey, fancy way to say they exfoliate, and they do so by breaking the bonds called corneodesmosomes between that literally hold those skin cells in place. Those bonds are normally broken down by enzymes in skin known as proteases. And proteases are so named because their job is to digest protein. Skin cells are primarily protein, as are the bonds that hold those cells to the surface. So in a normal, timely fashion, those bonds should break down due to protease action and then naturally slough off. But as I mentioned, for numerous reasons, that process can become faulty. It can slow down. It may work well in one area of your face, but not so well in another. There's numerous factors that can get in the way of that process. So AHAs can step in and get things back to normal by doing what your skin cannot do as well or potentially at all on its own. That is why AHAs can make such a fast and impressive difference in the appearance and the texture, the glow of your skin. I mean, I could go on. We're going to talk about the different types of AHAs, but in addition to their exfoliating action, they have numerous other benefits, including helping to make skin look and feel firmer, helping to fade signs of sun damage, particularly in the categories of uneven skin tone. They do help, AHAs do help to fade dark spots. However, I would never tell somebody struggling with dark spots to use an AHA exfoliant and no other type of a leave-on treatment, because AHAs in and of themselves don't do enough to really, I kind of look at them as an ingredient to partner with something like a higher strength of vitamin C, niacinamide, tranexamic acid. If you're still using hydroquinone, perhaps via prescription, you absolutely can use hydroquinone with AHAs. In fact, there's some interesting studies showing even better results from that combination than using hydroquinone alone, which stands to reason because one of the things that the literature has also made very clear about dark spots and trying to get those to become less of a visible issue is that the more ingredients you throw at those, the better your chances, because the individual ingredients work on different pathways and processes that fuel hyperpigmentation. And you can't always tell when you're looking at that dark spot what exactly is going on beneath. Well, actually, you can't tell what's going on beneath the surface. You know, is it a matter of this? Is it a matter of that? Is too much melanin being produced at this point in the process where maybe vitamin C would have a better effect? Or is it another issue that where maybe tranexamic acid and niacinamide can step in and really help resolve the issue to a visibly satisfactory extent? But AHAs absolutely have a role in that. They also have a role in fine line and wrinkle reduction. Certain AHAs can have a role in helping to promote a healthier microbiome, which is the term that encompasses the unique combination of microorganisms, bacteria, and what both healthful and harmful on skin surface. And in an ideal situation, those good and bad substances are kind of balanced. They're you know, the good keeps the bad in check and vice versa. And AHAs, the AHA lactic acid has an interesting role in that. So let's see. Concentration-wise, let's talk about that. When we're talking a leave-on exfoliant as opposed to a rinse-off peel type product, generally speaking, you want to look for concentrations of AHAs between 5 and 10%. Some would say upwards of 12% for like your glycolic or lactic acid. I'm fine with that. I think from a safety perspective for a leave-on exfoliant, that's fine. However, the higher you go up the percentage-wise as far as that strength for AHAs, this is a generalization that I'll explain why in just a moment. But generally, the higher up you go, the more you increase your risk of having an irritant response. And it's never the goal to use an AHA and then feel prolonged stinging, tingling, itching, see redness, end up with flaky skin. If you're using an AHA and you're experiencing any of those, separate some stinging and tingling upon the initial application is actually fairly normal, even with lower strength AHAs, like a 5% concentration, but it should be fleeting. And the more you use the AHA, the less that should occur. It shouldn't feel very intense. It shouldn't get more intense as time goes on. If it does, rinse it off, because I never want you to irritate your skin. If you're going to use an AHA exfoliant, I only want you to get benefit from it. So 5 to 12% concentration. You can use AHA exfoliants once or twice per day if you are brand new to using a leave-on exfoliant, and particularly if you have a known history of sensitive skin, you may want to apply the AHA exfoliant less frequently, such as once per day, every other day, or perhaps even once every 3 days, and just monitor how your skin responds. If you're seeing great results, not seeing any signs of trouble, you can experiment with increasing the frequency of application, and then as always, just monitor how your skin responds. But by and large, most people using a well-formulated AHA exfoliant should see appreciably greater results. I don't know if anyone's going to be asking about this, but there will come a point with an AHA or a BHA exfoliant where you will plateau. You will be in what we consider maintenance mode. So when you first start to use an AHA exfoliant, or a BHA for that matter, if you're never used such a product before, or if those you've used in the past have contained a lot of irritating ingredients, let's say they were a high amount of denatured alcohol, and you start using one that is well formulated, that's fragrance free, that's designed to be gentle and minimize any risk of irritation, you're going to see impressive results, and you're going to see impressive results fairly quickly. Those results will continue for a certain period of time. I wish I could say there's a hard and fast timeline, like 4 weeks, but it does vary from person to person. However, everybody will get to a point with regular use of a leave-on exfoliant where their skin essentially is in maintenance mode, and that's great. There's only so much skin that these products can get rid of, and of course, we need to leave some here. By the way, AHAs stay within the uppermost layers of skin. Their exfoliating action is limited to those cells that are dead. They do not impact the living cells. They do not increase the rate at which those living cells are created. Some of you may know of something called the Hayflick phenomenon, which is it's a process where that determine that our cells in the body have a certain number of times that they will replicate before they just die, and they stop replicating permanently. AHAs do not influence that process one way or the other, which is good. All right, let's talk about the different types of AHAs. Leading the pack is glycolic acid. It is widely considered the gold standard. It's because it has the most research behind its use on skin. Close second is going to be lactic acid. Both of those have the best track record for impressive results for all ages and skin types and skin colors. When you get up into the concentrations that are used in office for rinse-off type peels, and I'm talking concentrations of glycolic at 30% and above, upwards of 70%. If you do have a darker skin tone, if you have more melanin-rich skin, you will want to speak with your esthetician or dermatologist, whomever is going to be doing the peel, and make sure that they are choosing the best peel for your skin color. Glycolic and lactic acid in very high concentrations have been known to cause post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Again, this is in an office setting when much higher strengths are being used for a peel, so I don't want you to be alarmed about using, if you have darker skin, I don't want you to be alarmed about using glycolic or lactic acid in the amounts commonly found in skincare products. But regardless of your skin color, a general rule with any leave-on exfoliant is if you are seeing or feeling signs of irritation that are lasting, again, that initial tingling, for most of us is going to be just fine and it should subside quickly. I'm talking about more prolonged feelings of irritation, regardless of your skin color. Discontinue use if that is what's occurring. But for people with melanin-rich skin who are considering in-office peels, do ask the practitioner about the risk of what's called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and they may suggest a different type of peel for you, a lower strength. You have options. Bottom line, that's what I'm trying to get at, is that you have options. But glycolic acid is very popular in the skincare, at-home skincare setting and the in-office peel type setting. What primarily makes it so special is its size. It's the smallest molecular size of all of the alpha hydroxy acids, and as such, it has the ability to penetrate further into the skin to reveal the nicer looking skin that is hiding beneath, obscured by those layers of dead, dull skin cells. It also has a natural ability to hydrate skin, teaching it to retain its natural moisture. Lactic acid does something similar, but from a recognition perspective, your skin understands and knows lactic acid. So lactic acid is that best friend that's always welcome in a sense. Glycolic acid is that person that tags along with the best friend, and at first you're not quite sure if you're going to like them as much, but then you end up liking them almost or nearly as much. So they end up being welcome too. I try to use real-world examples. But lactic acid is actually naturally present in skin and in our bodies. It is part of skin's natural moisturizing factor, which is a collection of substances including mucopolysaccharides, sodium PCA, amino acids that help improve and maintain balanced hydration within the skin's layers. Lactic acid is also a postbiotic ingredient. It is a byproduct of the probiotics naturally present in our skin. As those probiotics break down, and they all do eventually, they release beneficial substances like lactic acid, hyaluronic acid, antimicrobial peptides, all of which work to keep skin working normally, to keep it in a healthy state. So both glycolic and lactic acid are great. Those are definitely the top two. Interestingly, newer research has revealed that amounts of glycolic acid as low as 0.2%, which in that range, you're not going to get an exfoliating action, what's known as a keratolytic effect. But there's a newer research showing that amounts as low as 0.2% glycolic acid can play a role in disrupting the viability of cell membranes of the bacteria that can trigger breakouts. So, if you are somebody with breakouts that has experimented with AHAs before and found that they produced some interesting results, you're like, wow, this has really been helpful. That is likely why, particularly if what you were using is glycolic acid. And it's kind of exciting that you don't need to use a lot of it to get that benefit. So you could even see well, here's the kicker. I would prefer, you may as well just use at least a 5% concentration anyway, because you want that exfoliating benefit. That's also going to help, particularly to some degree with clogged pores. Although ultimately, if clogged pores is your major concern, because there's almost always an oil component, excess oil component to that, salicylic acid is your go-to because of its natural lipid-soluble nature, whereas AHAs are water-soluble. That does not mean, though, that AHAs have no place if your concern is clogged pores. It's just that BHA is the where to start. Kind of lost my train of thought as far as where I was going with that. Lactic acid's molecular size is slightly larger than glycolic, so it is a bit slower to penetrate. Topical concentrations up to 2% can have a very nice measurable hydrating effect on skin. If you are looking to lactic acid for exfoliation, you want to go between 5 and 12%. 5 to 10% is fine. I've seen 7%, 8%. Lactic acid plays well with other exfoliating acids, and as such, it's sometimes combined with them for a synergistic effect. It can be derived from milk, but the synthetic form is almost always used in skincare because it is easier to formulate with, it is easier to keep stable, it's easier to hold within the pH range that alpha hydroxy acids need to work as exfoliants, which for pretty much all of these AHAs that I'm discussing, you're looking at a pH between 3 and 4 for in order to get maximum effectiveness without tipping the scales. And you can do lower, you can go pH 2, but that's going to be very irritating for skin. So I don't want that to happen. Glycolic acid is almost always used in synthetic form as well. It can be derived from food or fruit sources. However, again, for the same reasons as lactic acid, there's formulation and stability issues. If you see a product that says it exfoliates, and on the ingredient list you're seeing fruit extracts or fruit acids, mixed fruit acids, those chances are good you're not going to get a great result that is going to compare with a product that is pH correct with glycolic and or lactic or other proven AHAs. Just because there may be some AHA ingredients in that fruit extract, who knows how much of that you're getting? You know what I mean? It's like there could be 1% of an acid in this extract, and then the amount of the extract in the product is used at, say, 0.5%. So you're getting a very, very diminished amount of any potential acid that's left. And this is assuming that the pH of the formula is going to be within the correct range to get that acid to exfoliate. So I tend to not recommend the mixed fruit acid type leave-on exfoliants. Now, if there is support and you've got like your glycolic or lactic in like a 5% concentration pH correct formula, what the heck? As long as you're not, as long as the extracts aren't from citrus fruits known to irritate skin, such as orange and lemon, I'd rather, you get like AHAs from grape extract, like malic acid, which is the next one we're going to talk about here. Malic acid is larger than glycolic and lactic acids, larger size, but is still able to exfoliate and also delivers antioxidant benefits. In concentrations of 1 to 2%, it's a good supporting player when paired with other acidic or acid-based exfoliating ingredients. We like to think of it as multi-level exfoliation because you've got your glycolic going to this point in skin, lactic acid right behind it, malic acid stays above that, and so on. So you're not, as the AHAs penetrate the skin, they're kind of going to where they need to be, and they're of course causing some exfoliation along the way, but it's interesting to see what kind of results you can get when you have different molecular size acids that stay within certain layers of skin and then keep working. So that's the approach we took with the Skin Perfecting 25% AHA, 2% BHA peel. This is my personal tube. I love this product. I use it at least once a week. So if my skin looks smooth and glowing to you, you can thank this, or I thank this. Well, it's more than one product, but this is definitely a difference maker. Tartaric acid is larger in size than malic acid and nearly twice as big as glycolic acid. Tartaric occurs naturally in grapes, but it is also made synthetically, and that's typically the form used in skincare for the same reasons I've already mentioned. Although tartaric acid can exfoliate skin when it's used in the same concentrations as glycolic or lactic, it really functions best in helping to maintain the pH range that other AHA ingredients need to exfoliate skin. It can, because of its larger molecular size, assist with that more targeted multi-level exfoliation, so you're getting that layer by layer benefit. And again, that's one more reason we chose to incorporate tartaric acid along with the other exfoliating acids in the Skin Perfecting Peel, which is a rinse-off formula. You leave it on for about 10 minutes and then rinse with water. Some peels or exfoliants contain citric acid, which is typically derived from fruit, or it can be made synthetically. Citric acid is used in a ton of skincare products, not to exfoliate typically, but as a pH adjusting agent. In order to hold, most skincare products are kept within the acidic range. Stands to reason because our skin is naturally acidic, so the whole concept of using pH compatible skincare products is almost always in keeping them with so as not to disrupt what's known as skin's acid mantle, You go much above 7, you're getting into the alkaline range. That is not going to promote healthier skin. It's been shown that using alkaline skincare products disrupts skin's pH balance for a prolonged period of time. The downside of that is that it can cause an overgrowth of the kind of bacteria that can lead to skin problems. Not to mention, it weakens and impairs skin's barrier, because part of what skin relies on to keep itself smooth and resilient and protected is that acid mantle layer that works with other substances in skin to serve as its first line of defense. And it's much easier to neutralize harmful pathogens with acids. It's a more efficient process, I guess you could say. So last AHA I wanted to mention, because citric acid, even though it is an AHA, it's rarely used in a meaningful concentration to exfoliate. And the primary reason for that is that it really works best at a pH level between like 2 and 2.4, and that is just very irritating for skin. You would, if you use, say, a 10% citric acid toner, even if it was alcohol-free and the pH was 2.4 or 2.5, you'd be feeling the burn and likely seeing the redness, and you'll get the exfoliation, but it's exfoliation with irritation, and that's not what we want. So Mandelic acid is kind of the newer AHA kid on the block. It's not as widely used as the other ones, likely because there isn't as much research supporting its use. It's popular in the in-office peel setting. It's particularly popular for people with dark skin color. Comparative studies of glycolic acid has shown that it is better tolerated when you have more melanated skin, what's known as a Fitzpatrick type 5 or 6 skin color. You'll get much better results, generally speaking, using a Mandelic acid peel. And we're talking high strength amounts. We're talking 50%, 70% of the acid that's only left on skin for a few minutes, and then it is neutralized. Mandelic acid is the biggest AHA, which means slower penetration on the skin, and Mandelic acid, because of this reason, is sometimes included in leave-on exfoliants for sensitive skin. Whereas glycolic acid is just kind of that, I'm just going to get right to where I need to go because I'm so tiny. Mandelic acid is much larger and just kind of hangs out on the surface, more gently coaxing those bonds between the cells to break down so that those dead cells, those spent cells, can shed. Research has shown that Mandelic acid can prompt skin to make more oil. That's interesting. Not great news for oily or breakout-prone skin, but definitely can be helpful for those who have dry skin. Concentration ranges for Mandelic acid haven't been firmly established. Usage levels, when you're looking at like ingredient supplier sheets, typically range from 2 to 10%. But there's more research looking at it in peel strength levels of between 20 and 40%. It's derived from an extract that comes from the bitter almond. I thought that was worth mentioning. I haven't necessarily seen I shouldn't say necessarily. I haven't seen reports that Mandelic acid is contraindicated if you have a nut allergy. But if it may in fact be contraindicated, and if you do have a nut allergy, I would make sure you let your practitioner know. If you're considering a Mandelic peel, make sure that they give you the all clear before you proceed with that. You may even want to check with your personal physician or allergist to be doubly sure, because I hate for you to have a reaction because of that, how it's derived. Interestingly, due to the lower pK value, Mandelic acid is stronger than lactic acid when you're comparing the same concentrations. Or to put it another way, I'm just throwing out some random numbers here. Based on the pK value of Mandelic acid, and the pK value is a measure of how strong an acid is. That's the simplest explanation. You either have a weak acid or a strong acid. Generally speaking, all of the alpha hydroxy acids fall under the category of a weak acid because of their pK values. Picture something like hydrochloric acid that our stomach produces as having a very high pK value because it is strongly acidic. I believe the natural pH of hydrochloric acid is around 1, potentially lower. In other words, if you were to put pure hydrochloric acid on your skin, it would literally burn its way through it. Don't do that. That is not a concern with the alpha hydroxy acids. So generally speaking, though, because of the difference in the pK numbers between mandelic and glycolic acid, I would hazard a guess to say that 3%, maybe even 2% or 2.5% mandelic acid would be the equivalent efficacy and strength as 5% glycolic acid. It's very much like how, because salicylic acid has an even lower pK value than any of the AHAs, you can get very good results with a much lower amount of salicylic acid than glycolic or lactic acid. Okay, I think I covered that, and we mentioned that. I mentioned earlier that AHAs are different from BHA primarily because BHA is lipid or oil soluble. It can penetrate further into the pore lining. It can help break up those sticky oil and dead skin cell and follicular debris clogs that form. AHAs just can't do that, at least not nearly as well. Maybe in a formula that has a strong penetration enhancer, you're going to get them to go a bit further into the pore lining, but they don't have that inherent ability to cut through that oil to help thin that thickened oil so that it can get to the point where it flows evenly out of the pores. AHAs often are recommended for sun-damaged skin. I think largely it's not that BHA doesn't help sun-damaged skin, because it definitely does in terms of color, in terms of texture, in terms of a firmer feeling and hydration. It can do all of that, but there's more literature on AHAs in relation to how they benefit environmentally damaged skin. So we generally say, Paula's Choice as a company, that AHAs are more for sun-damaged skin, BHA is more for clog-prone, breakout-prone, oily skin. And really quick, let's talk about how to use an AHA exfoliant. If you're talking a leave-on exfoliant, meaning a leave-on exfoliant that is not meant to be rinsed off, like one of my favorites, our Daily Smoothing Treatment, 5% AHA from the Resist line. This is something I always have a backup of because I do not want to be without that. I love it. You use them after the toner step, once or twice daily. Again, if you're new to AHAs, start slow, maybe once every other day, once daily every other day, or once every 3 days, that's fine, and monitor how your skin responds. If you do not use a toner, what's wrong with you? I love toners, especially ours, because they're just so amazingly gentle and effective and just add that extra oomph to the skincare routine. But I get that some people, in the interest of wanting to get through their routines faster, just don't want to bother with a toner. So if that is you, you can put your leave-on AHA exfoliant on right after cleansing. So wash your face, pat dry, you don't need to wait, put on your exfoliant. During the day, if that's when you're using your AHA, you can follow with a serum or any other treatment products you may wish to use during the day, like a booster, for example. Finish with your moisturizer with sunscreen, always the last skincare step during the day. If you opt to, or in addition to, want to use your exfoliant at night, again, it would go on after cleansing. Follow with your serum and any other treatment products. Those are generally applied in order from thinnest to thickest texture. If let's say you're using 3 other, you've got 1 serum, 2 treatment type products that you like putting all over your face at night, and then you finish with your moisturizer. And all of those treatment products have similar textures. Well, which one do you put on first, and does it matter? For the most part, no, it doesn't matter. And that in that situation, it really comes down to personal preference. So experiment in terms of that layering and see what you like best. You may find after some experimentation that you're like, doesn't really matter. As long as what's important is that you're getting them on your skin, right? So, but do experiment, because you may find that a certain combination layers better and feels better to you than another mix would. So that's my spiel about AHAs and how to use them and the different types. I'm going to go ahead and dive into your questions here, see how many I can get through before the end of the hour. We will start with Glork. Hi, there's been quite a lot of talk within Europe this week about PC and whether it will remain cruelty-free now that Unilever plans to sell PC in China. Is this something we need to worry about? Paula's Choice is working very closely with Unilever to ensure that our policy and our philosophy, our brand tenet of not testing on animals, not testing our products on animals at any stage of development will continue. So there are no plans, none whatsoever, to for Paula's Choice to engage in any type of animal testing in order to be sold in China, nor would we be working with a third-party company to engage in such testing at our request. I have not heard anything to the contrary. What I have heard from numerous people on our our executive level team is that they are committed, as is Unilever, to allowing Paula's Choice to remain a cruelty-free company. So I know that there's been some talk about that, but I hope that my answer is reassuring, because there's just no plans to go down that road. It's just not something that we want to, or are willing to compromise on. And then the same person is asking if Paula is still going to be involved in Paula's Choice after the Unilever acquisition, which, by the way, the Unilever acquisition is a done deal. We're very excited about that. We are officially part of their Prestige Beauty group as of last week, and Paula will continue to be involved in the company. I haven't spoken with her recently about the nature of what her role will be going forward, but I know that Unilever is definitely Unilever has every intent to keep her involved as one of the faces of the brand. What a surprise, it is Paula's Choice. And I know that Paula is actively involved in many of the upcoming product launches we have for the next couple of years, and is anticipating sharing information about those products with people around the world. It's not to the surprise of no one. COVID has put a bit of a glitch in many plans in that regard, particularly for Paula to do what she loves best, which is have those smaller group sessions with consumers or with people from the media to share what she knows, to talk about new products and things like that. So keep your fingers crossed that as we segue into the next year, that that ability to travel globally without significant restrictions will be cleared. I certainly hope it will be. I have definitely missed traveling for work. Looking forward to getting back to that. Andrea asks, hi Brian, do you know if there's a minimum percentage or frequency of use for glycolic acid to help with collagen building? Can lactic acid do the same? Generally, I've seen various studies, Andrea. Some say that in order to really get significant collagen building, you need your AHA level to be as high as 20%. But there's also histologic research that has looked at levels between 5 and 10% used for a longer period of time than what you would do for a peel, for example, that have the same benefit. It just takes longer to get there. But you will still get that benefit. And what was the other part of the question? Lactic acid would have the same ability, really, by and large. Glycolic acid, I would say, because of its size and ability to penetrate further and stimulate those fibroblasts, would maybe have a little bit of an edge, but not enough to really. If you're choosing between one or the other, and you're looking at equivalent percentages in bases that you like for your skin type, they're both lotions, they're both creams, whatever you like, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You could alternate back and forth between them if you wanted to. In terms of how long to use them, generally the studies have looked at a period of like 3 to 6 months. They typically don't look much longer than that. So I would say that, but there's no reason. I mean, you could experiment and consider not using your AHA as frequently, once you're in that maintenance mode I spoke of earlier. But there's certainly no harm. And if you've built up to once or twice daily usage and your skin is really just humming along, there's no reason not to keep doing that. But if you want to experiment with reducing frequency of application and see how your skin does, great. For me, I know like if I stop using the BHA, I maybe after a week or two, I start noticing, because I use our Calm 1% BHA lotion exfoliant, as well as this. These are the ones I alternate with, and then I use the peel. Where'd it go? I use the rinse off peel. I try to remember to use it once a week. Sometimes it stretches to 10 days, but for sure, when I do not use my BHA because I do still have clog-prone skin, I notice a difference. I really do. And I also notice, well, the other thing I notice when I don't use the BHA for a while, sometimes I forget it when I travel for extended periods. I will also notice that my oily areas get oilier. So yeah, I'm definitely an advocate for ongoing use even after you've achieved the results you set out to get. But everybody needs to experiment to find what works best for them. I wouldn't encourage, especially if you're older, I wouldn't encourage complete cessation of a leave-on exfoliant just because they have so many. I can't think of another skincare product, maybe save for a really well-formulated serum that is going to give you more bang for your buck long term. Well, sunscreen, of course, but, you know, that's never as sexy to talk about or fun, despite its essential nature. Vivian, hey, Brian, have you ever read anything on using AHAs after getting permanent makeup done? I was told the AHAs can accelerate the fading of the permanent makeup. Yeah, I totally agree on the face-to-face meetups thing. Or maybe Paula's Choice could do a Zoom. Yeah. You know, the problem with doing this Zoom is that it would if we just kind of put it out there like, you know, hey, so-and-so is doing a special Zoom on this topic or ask us anything, we would get so many people which is great. You know, it's a good problem to have, as Paula says, but it would be nearly impossible to try to keep track of everybody. I don't even know how many people Zoom can accommodate, you know, in terms of seeing everybody in those little Brady Bunch style boxes. I'm completely dating myself there. But that's what it makes me think of, you know, the opening credits to the Brady Bunch. So I think if we were to do something like that, we would have to limit it to, say, 25, 50 people. And I'm always hesitant to do that because I feel like, well, then we're just shutting out, you know, a big group of people that really wants to join. But if that's the limitation of technology, and in order to make sure that everybody who's participating has a chance to participate if they want to, so that's definitely something that we would have to discuss internally and see like what is the most equitable way to do that. And because right now I just think I was just kind of laying out the pros and cons of one way or the other. So we need to come to some consensus on that. But AHAs, to answer your first question, Vivian, I haven't read anything about the detrimental effect of AHAs on permanent makeup. I mean, permanent makeup is, as I understand it, I haven't really studied this area. I know a lot of people have had it done and like it. But as I understand it, it is a form of tattooing. Any tattoo, the pigment, a certain amount of it is going to fade over time. I would hazard a guess to say that exposure to UV light is going to be a bigger detriment to permanent makeup fading over the years than an alpha hydroxy acid exfoliant. Reason being is because AHAs don't reach deep enough into the skin whereas that pigment goes pretty far into skin in order to have that permanent aspect to it. If I had permanent makeup, would I use an AHA? I don't know. I'd have to look into it further, but for example, if you have permanent makeup done on your eyebrows, you know, to fill them in, some people like to do that because they literally, their brows, you know, without some sort of cosmetic adornment, their brows just aren't visible, and they want their brows to be visible, so they have the permanent makeup done, or some people have permanent makeup done as eyeliner. I know my best friend's, one of my best friend's sisters had that done. She's almost 60, and it looks great. And she loves waking up every morning with her eyeliner on. She's like, it's been a life changing thing for me. The other thing is that with her, in her particular case, she doesn't have very good vision. And so trying to get perfect eyeliner on upper and lower every morning was a painstaking, time-consuming process because she just couldn't see that well. Even with a magnifying mirror, it was difficult. So all of that problem has been avoided because she has permanent eyeliner. Of course, the downside is when you do permanent eyeliner, that's the eyeliner look you're stuck with. There's no, I mean, yeah, you can build on it a little bit, but if you ever wanted to do something more subtle than what you have, harder to do. I suppose you could use some heavy-duty cover-up, concealer, full coverage type foundation to try to literally cover up some of that liner, but I don't know. Bottom line, where I have seen people get permanent makeup, it typically isn't on the larger portion of the face. It's smaller areas. It's brows, it's eyeliner, it's lips. Areas where you wouldn't normally apply an AHA, so I think ultimately it doesn't really matter. I mean, go ahead and keep using the AHA on the non-permanent makeup parts of your face. Okay, I got a hi from New Zealand. Hello, Helen. Oh, I hope you guys get back to normal down there soon. I'd love to come visit. Darren, 21, says some of my favorite products, the shave cream and body wash, have been out of stock for a while. Do you know if they will be back in stock soon or if they're being discontinued? They're not being discontinued. Actually, I might, of course, I probably deleted that. But let me see if I can find. All right. I'll come back and post about the shave cream and the body wash and let you guys know when we're expecting those back in stock. Making a little note for myself here. Okay, but no, they're not discontinued. Okay, Unknown Freedom. Hi, Brian. I have combination skin, but it's more on the dry normal side. Should I use BHA or AHA? Is the gel texture best? Whether or not you use AHA or BHA, with AHAs, it's not necessarily so tied to skin type. All skin types can benefit from AHAs because of their hydrating abilities. And the salicylic acid is hydrating too. I would say there's more research looking at the hydration, the hygroscopic properties, the water binding properties of AHAs like glycolic and lactic than there is for salicylic, which is generally why Paula's Choice says normal to dry skin, go for the AHA. Normal to oily combination skin, go for the BHA, because BHA is, again, BHAs should always be your first stop when you have any degree of oily skin and or clog prone, breakout prone skin, blackhead prone skin. You got to do the BHA. If you don't have those concerns, maybe you're just dealing with uneven skin tone, some texture issues, fine lines, and you want to do some amount of environmental repair, you really could use either one. And the gel is quite versatile. We have an AHA gel and a BHA gel at a 2% strength for the BHA and an 8% for the AHA. They feel very similar. They do. They have fairly similar bases or chassis. So it's really going to come down to which one's results in terms of exfoliation do you like more. And you may find, as I did, that going back and forth between AHA and BHA gives me the best balance of results, which is why I have both types in regular rotation for my skincare. Sugarless 20, if we'd like to try the PC BHA, should we try the liquid, lotion, or gel? I have combo to normal oily skin. I have bumpies on my chin, and when I get acne, it stays under the skin and gets big. BHA would definitely be where I would suggest that you start. Within our line, within our selection of BHA exfoliants, the Skin Perfecting 2% BHA liquid or the extra strength anti-redness exfoliating solution in our clear line, which is our acne-prone skin line, those are going to give you the best penetration and the fastest results because of their base. So for the type of breakouts you described on your chin, that would be where I would steer you to first and see how you do with that. If you're finding that perhaps it's a little bit too much for you, or maybe it's working great in your chin where the blemishes tend to be more stubborn, but it's not working as well elsewhere on the face, then you can consider the gel or the lotion. But I would definitely start with the liquid in either the clear line or the skin perfecting line. Roberto says, excuse me, hi Brian, hope you're well. Is AHA or BHA more effective for scars marks? So, whenever I get this question, I always like to distinguish that a scar, as in like collagen damage or tissue loss resulting from an injury, is different from what some people describe as the acne scars, which are the discoloration marks left after a blemish heals. Technically speaking, those, I know that they're often thought of and referred to as scars, but from a skin physiology perspective, they're not scars per se. It's post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. A scar resulting from a wound or a surgical type scar, those are permanent. They will continue to heal and change and look better over time for most people, provided you take steps to keep your skin protected as it's healing. But the post-acne marks or post-breakout marks will fade on their own in time. There are things, however, that you can do to speed up that process, and one of those things is regular use of an AHA or a BHA exfoliant. I would direct you toward a BHA exfoliant if what you're experiencing are these marks from breakouts, because BHA just has an overall better track record for breakout-prone skin. That is primarily because of its oil-soluble nature, but it is also because, unlike alpha-hydroxy acids, BHA, due to its relation to aspirin, acetylsalicylic acid, salicylic acid has much of aspirin's anti-inflammatory or skin-calming abilities, which is why it also works so well for acne. Acne is an inflammatory disorder, and if your skin tone or skin color is light enough, when you get acne, and I've even seen this on darker skin, it looks red. It looks red and inflamed, and BHA can help to visibly reduce that and help get those breakouts under control more efficiently than AHAs. However, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the latest research is showing that AHAs can also play a role in helping breakout-prone skin. But if you're deciding between one or the other, for certain, BHA is your go-to, and there's far more research tying BHA to acne improvement than there is for the AHAs. The King says, Brian, why is CBD line discontinued? Always nice to see you. You know, it was very, very sad to see the 2 CBD products we had go away. The primary reason for that was low sales. Both of those products, the oil and the milk, had a very high percentage of natural ingredients, including CBD, and there's a shelf life, and there's a shorter shelf life the more natural your product is. And then the CBD oil had retinol, and even though we were using a really intriguing type of retinol, oil-soluble retinol in that product, that wouldn't have held up much longer either. So we made the difficult decision to stop selling the products. Primarily, I'm convinced, because both of those products were awesome, I'm convinced that we were limited in how we could discuss and talk about those products because of the current regulatory landscape. So, with any discontinuation, I always think never say never. Because something's gone now doesn't mean it won't ever come back or come back in a different iteration down the line. There's no hidden message there. That doesn't mean that, just between us, the CBD products will be back next year. That is not the case. I don't know at this point if we will ever offer CBD products again. But there are a lot of other good lines that are doing that are more CBD centric. I think St. Jane does a good job. I think 707 Flora, which is a small line out of California, is doing a good job. And those are more CBD focused brands that both of whom got into this business because they have a genuine passion for the research on CBD and its the possibilities within that skincare sphere. So check out those other brands. I wouldn't, I do think that CBD cannabidiol is an intriguing ingredient with many different skincare applications. I was sad to see those products go, but in business, sometimes you got to make those tough calls. Thankfully, I'm not the one that has to make those calls. The buck does not stop with me, because quite frankly, I don't know if I could, I don't know if I could do that, when it really needs to be done. But that's why, they will. Ooh, oh my goodness. Just like totally made these questions like super big. And now I think I made them super smaller. And where did they go? Okay, I think, oops, smaller, nope. What in the world is going on? Okay. Now everybody's questions look super big. Okay. I think I caught up here and we have a few minutes left. Elko says, hi, Brian. Can I use exfoliant during pregnancy? Thank you. The disclaimer, the general advice is to always consult your healthcare provider on what skincare products they recommend you use, particularly those that are more active, as in products, not healthcare providers, during pregnancy. Generally speaking, both AHA and BHA are considered safe to use while pregnant if you are using lower concentrations and using them in smaller areas. So for example, using a 10% BHA product from head to toe every day would be considered iffy, but using a 1 to 2% leave-on BHA exfoliant on your face during pregnancy is generally considered fine. There's a lot of good information out there on that, to the point where, if it was my wife or my sister that was asking me this question, I would say yes, that's fine. But I would, even in that situation, I would still say, but check with your doctor just to be sure. Glycolic acid is considered, there's kind of like no controversy around that during pregnancy. The potential concern with salicylic acid is the amount that may get absorbed and its chemical similarity to aspirin, which is contraindicated for use while you're pregnant and also to administer to children because of the risk of what's a disease called Reye's syndrome. However, as studies have shown, the way that salicylic acid is metabolized and broken down, the fetal exposure to it from the tiny amount that may get into the body via skin is minuscule and not cause for concern. So those are kind of the behind the scenes details, so to speak. But having said all of that, I would still say ask your healthcare provider, let them know the type of product you're considering using and how much AHA or BHA it contains, and then follow the healthcare provider's advice. And it may be their advice may well be, yes, you can use these products, but only use them for the extent that they're needed. So for example, once your breakouts are under control, you can stop. But just you'll have to see what their take is on that, and then again, follow their advice. Sugarless20 says, I've never tried PC before. Hello from Canada. Hello, and welcome, and I hope you do consider giving some of our products a try. And we have an incredible client services team. If you are unsure of where to start, you can contact them via email, via live chat. You can hit us up on our other social platforms for product advice. Or give us a call if you're one of those people that likes making phone calls. Doesn't that seem like a lost art? Oh, let's see. Is the formula Elkos, is formula 2% BHA different in US than in Europe? No. I'm not sure which of our 2% BHAs you're referring to. Probably the liquid, but no, it's not. It's the same formula globally. where we are permitted to sell it. There are some areas where we cannot sell 2% BHA exfoliants. No company can because of the country's regulations. Ant Girl loves paint. Lots of great tips today. Thanks so much, Brian, especially rotating one's acids. PC acids are the best I've seen in the market. Gel, lotion, or liquid. Love from Canada. Thank you very much. We have been in the exfoliation business for a long time. And Vivian, my husband did not transition. I was just using since I am married to a man, I was using a female example. So yep, that was all. Nope, everything's still the same as it was there. So yeah, that is the show. That's an interesting comment to wrap on. But as is the case, this is kind of anything goes. So I'll be back in a couple more weeks with a brand new topic. Closing out the month of August. It has been hot here, and I know Seattle is up for another heat wave, and here in Michigan it's just been humid and stormy this month. So I'm kind of hoping that we get a few more nicer, drier, blue sky summer days before it turns to fall, but not up to me. All we can do is hope for the best and live each day to the fullest, and I will speak with you guys soon. Take care.